So today guys, let us start with respect to the map interface in Java. Okay. In Java, basically the map interface is a part of the Java collections framework and is used to represent a collection of key value pairs where each key is unique and maps to exactly one value interface. Okay. So when do we go with map interface? When we want to store the data in a key and a value pair. Okay, in that particular case we go with respect to the map interface. Okay, when do we go with the map interface? When we want to store the data or we want to represent a collection of key and a value pair where each key is unique and maps to exactly one value. Okay, so this is where we go with respect to the map interface. Okay, where map is an interface, key will be a data type of data where we'll be storing the data, and value will also be a data type where we'll be storing the data. Okay, so key will be unique. Key is maintained as unique during in a map interface, and value is maintained as we can have duplicate values. Okay, we can have duplicate values, but key should be unique. Now let us see how to implement or what are the implementing classes with respect to the map interface. So we have map interface implementing classes like hash map, linked hash map and tree map. Okay, we have hash table also. So basically with respect to the hash map, linked hash map and tree map. So these are all the implementing classes with respect to map interface. Now we'll see the difference later. Okay, we'll see what is the difference between hash map, linked hash map, tree map and hash table later. First let us try to understand each implementing classes of map interface. Okay, so let's start with respect to the hash map. Hash map is basically it is a part of the Java collections framework and implements the map interface. It stores key value pairs and uses a hash table for fast retrieval. Okay, so hash map is basically an implementing class for map interface. Okay, the characteristics are unordered, that is does not maintain insertion or sorted order. It allows one null key and multiple null value and it is not thread safe. Okay, so these are the characteristics of hash map. What is the requirement of the hash map? When we want to store the data in a key and a value pair where insertion order is not a requirement and duplicate of keys is not allowed, but we have duplicates of values that are allowed. In that case we go with respect to the hash map class, which is an which implements map interface. Okay, now let us try to see how to declare a map basically, or how to declare an implementing class of map. Okay, first let us go with respect to the hash map. Hash and map, like this, one word. Hash and map is a one word. Now what kind of data I need to store? Okay, I'll consider like this. I need to store data something like this. I need to store like name and roll number. I need to store the data like this. Name, I need to store name and the roll number. For example, like this. Name, I'll consider it as just a name Sudhir. And what is the roll number? His roll number is 12. Okay. And I'll consider it as Ramesh. Roll number is 15. Okay, and I need to I'll consider some more, like for example Suresh is also one name and I need to store his roll number as 78. And let me consider Sunil, I'll consider his roll number as 98. Okay, I just took one example where the data representation should be like this, where key is the name and roll number is the value. Okay, key is the name and roll number is the value. So I need to store the data in this format, key and a value pair, where key is a name and roll number is a value. Now, what is the data type for key? String, right? We are storing string. It is a name, right? So we have to declare a string like this. Okay. We have declared the data type for key. Now we have to declare the data type for value. What is the data type? Integer, right? It is a number. It is a number. So I'll declare it as comma integer like this. So this string represent what type of data? String data. To store what? To store name, key, name or key. Whereas this integer is a data type which used to store values. So like this we have created what type of data we need to store. Then we have to give a reference. Then we have to give assignment operator. Then new keyword. Then again we have to declare the same data types. Hash map, string, comma, integer. So we have created. Now we have to give constructor call like this. Now we have to import. Which package that does hashmap present in? Java.util package. Okay. Hashmap is present in Java.util package. So we have to import. Now we have to store the data with a key and a value pair, right? So for that we have some methods. The method that is used to store the data inside a map is put. Put is adds or replace a key and a value pair. It adds when a key is not present inside a map and replaces the value when it is already present, which we will see when we are trying to insert duplicate elements. Okay. Now first let us see how does the map look or hash map looks when we implement the key and the value pair. Okay. For that what I will do, I'll try to insert some values into the hash map. So what is the method? Hash map is the reference dot put. Put is the method. Okay. Now I have to insert the key. What is the key in our case? In our case the key is name. So first name is Sudhir. And what is the value? Value is the roll number. So for that we have taken integer, we will store 12 like this. So now let us try to insert the other values for Ramesh, Suresh and Sunil. Okay. So Ramesh, I'll copy. What is the roll number? Roll number is 15. Now let us take Suresh. Suresh is here. What is the roll number? Roll number is 78. Now the last is Sunil, and Sunil roll number is 98. Okay. I have inserted few values which represents key and a value pair where insertion order of the key is not preserved. Okay. And duplicate keys are not allowed, but we can have duplicate values. Okay. Now let me try to print. How does this key and a value pair look like? It looks something like this. Okay. I'm just trying to print the object reference for hash map. Okay. Run as, right click, run as Java application. See, now you can see in the console that we are getting the key and a value pair, where the key is the name and value is the roll number. So the internal representation with respect to key and the value contains something like this. Okay. So when do we go with map? When we want to store the data with a key and a value pair. In that case, we go with respect to the map interface. Okay. When do we go with the map interface? When we want to store the data with a key value pair, we go with respect to map interface. And this is how it is internally looks. Where Suresh is a key and 78 is a value. Sunil is a key, 98 is a value. Now let us see how does the put behaves when we have duplicate keys and the values. Okay. Let me try to take the same Sunil. One more thing to add on here is the insertion order will not be preserved with the key. See, here we have inserted first time Sudhir, but we can see Suresh is inserted first, right? I mean, it is inserted at the same order, but it is not retained in the same order. Okay. See, we have inserted Suresh at third position, but in the map we could see it is at the first position, right? The insertion order is not preserved in the case of hash map. Okay, so now let us try to insert the common value or the duplicate value, but let me try to insert some other value like this. Now what does the put does is it will not insert a new value with respect to Sunil. Instead it will just try to replace. Okay, instead it will just try to replace the value with the new value. Okay, see, I'll run as Java application. What is the value of Sunil? Sunil we have 98. And what is the one more? 108. See now what happens. Run as Java application. See the Sunil, we could see the value that we have is replaced with the latest value. Right? Latest one. Even though it was inserted first, but due to the presence of Sunil already present inside the hash map as a key, so what it happens is it will try to replace its value with a new entry. What is the new entry? New entry is this Sunil. And what is its value? 108. So that will be replaced. Okay. So this is why we have written for put that it adds into a map when the element does not exist, or replaces key value pair when it is duplicate. Okay, so this is how we create hash map. Okay, this is how we create a hash map interface. Hash map class. Hash map is an class which implements map interface. Okay, this is how we can insert the elements. Now let us try to see what are the other characteristics with respect to the hash map. Okay, so we have other, like for example, it is not thread safe. Okay, thread safe in the sense two or more objects can interact at a time on the hash map object. Okay, and this is the basic syntax where we try to declare that we have already seen key type and a key value. And internal working is it uses a hash function to determine the index for storing the keys. Okay, and if multiple keys hash to the same index, okay, it stores them in the linked list or tree. So this is a bit complicated. Don't worry about this characteristics. Okay, now let us try to see. Now let us try to see with respect to the list, with respect to the other with respect to other methods, or how to iterate each element inside a hash map. And it is same with respect to other guys, with respect to linked hash map, with respect to tree map, anything if we are considering, it is same. Only thing is we have to make sure that we are aware of iterating any one map class, anyone. So for example, if suppose we want to iterate or extract each element from a map, okay, or each element from any implementing classes of map. How to do that is we can go like this. We can either use dot get, where we have to provide a key. Key is Sudhir, right? Like this. So we can use this get method in order to extract the value of that particular key. Okay, get, where get is a method which takes key as an input. See, for example, if I'm executing this, run as Java application, so it will give me Sudhir key and its value. Sudhir's value. What is Sudhir's roll number? 12. So it is printing me 12. If you want to extract, when you are aware what is the key. Now suppose consider you want to iterate each element inside a hash map. Okay, so in that case we can go with iterator. There are multiple ways guys where we can iterate a hash map. There are 3 to 4 ways in which we can iterate each element present in a map or implementing classes of hash map. Okay, so let me go with iterator. If suppose the requirement is we have to iterate each element present in an hash map. Okay, it might be a hash map, it might be tree map, it might be anything. The common method. Okay. So for example, first we have to take hash map. Okay. We have taken a reference of the hash map. So HM we have taken. Now each entry, this is an entry inside a map, right? Each is an entry inside a map. Now this is called as entry set. Okay, which consists of key and a value. This is called as entry set. So hm dot entry set, we are taking each entry set. Now we have to take, after taking an entry set, we have to take the iterator like this. Okay, so how to iterate each element? First we have to take the hash map reference. We have, in our case it is hm dot, we have to iterate what? We have to iterate each entry set, right? So for that we will take entry set method dot iterator. Iterator will help us in iterating each element present inside a any collection. It might be set or it might be map, right? So that I'll take. Now what is the return type? The return type is iterator. We have taken iterator, so iterator is the return type. Now it consists of each entry, right? Entry of what? Of type string and integer, right? So this is, we take the iterator interface. Now we take one particular object reference like this. Okay, reference for one particular interface. So now we have created an iterator. Now let us try to extract each element. So we can go with while loop. While, this is simple, how we used with respect to set interface. So it dot has next. Has next is a method that helps us in identifying whether there is a next element present inside a map or inside a hash map or not. Okay. So next we will take it dot next. It dot next is a method. Next is a method which will help us in extracting each element, each set or each entry set in the case of map. In the case of set, each element. In the case of map, each entry set, which consists of key and the value pair. So it will return me entry of key and a value pair. And then I'll trying to take a particular next object. Okay. So now what we can go with respect to get key. So what is the reference? Next dot get key. And next I'll print next dot get value. These are all the methods that are present in order to extract each entry set or each key and each value present inside a hash map. So in order to iterate a map, we have to implement this much. Run as Java application. See, we can see we have extracted individual key, individual value, individual key, individual value, like that. Okay. So individual key, individual value. So this is how we can iterate a particular map, any implementing class with respect to map interface. It might be hash map, it might be linked hash map, it might be tree map. One common way of implementing this method to iterate any map implementing classes. So now for example, if it is linked hash map, so what I will do, I'll just replace with linked hash map. Okay, linked hash map, import. See, everything works. Run as Java application. Same. If you take tree map, I am taking tree map. Let me try to import. Yeah, I have imported. Run as Java application. Everything works. Okay. Now let me take hash table. Run as Java application. It works. Okay. So basically, whenever we want to iterate any particular map implementing class of a map, we can go with the same common methods and same common iterating mechanism. Okay, but there are few differences with respect to each implementing classes that we will see now. Okay, so hash map is basically, it is a map where we will be storing the values in a key value pair, where insertion order of the key is not present and duplicate of the keys are not allowed, and multiple null we can have multiple duplicate values, or we can have duplicate values. Now let us see with respect to null, can we have multiple null values or null keys? Okay, let us see that. For that, what I will do, I'll just try to store here null. Okay, I'll store null, I'll store null like this. Okay, like this, like this. Okay, run as Java application. Let me try to not iterate because it will create confusion. I'll just try to print hash map directly, hash map object. Okay, run as Java application. See, is it allowing us to store multiple null keys? No, because multiple null keys in hash map is not allowed. Multiple null keys, but we can have multiple null values. See, multiple null values we can have. You can take one more null. So it will have three null values, but it can have only one null key. See, one more, right? But it can have only one null. Okay, we can have multiple null keys, but we can multiple null values, but we cannot have multiple null keys in hash map. Okay, it is not only okay. Let us consider other things later. Now let us see what is the difference between hash map and linked hash map. So for that, simple, I'll just try to add linked hash map like this. Simple. Okay. Now when to go with linked hash map? When the requirement is insertion order of the key should be preserved. Okay. When insertion order of the key should be preserved. In that case, we can go with respect to the linked hash map. Okay, when do we go with linked hash map? When the insertion order of the key should be preserved. Now, was it maintaining the insertion order in the case of hash map? No, it was not maintaining, right? See, for example, if I try to remove this particular linked hash map, and it is a hash map, Control S save, run as Java application, if I am using, so here we can see that insertion order is not preserved, right? Even though we have inserted Sudhir as a first key, we are seeing null as a first key and null as a first value, which is somewhere here, right? And Ramesh we have inserted second, but we are seeing Ramesh at the last. So suppose you want to retain the insertion order of the key with respect to the map, then we go with respect to the linked hash map like this. Run as Java application. Now just observe the order in which we have inserted. We have inserted Sudhir first. We can see Sudhir first. Ramesh, Suresh, Sunil. There are multiple Sunil, so it is taking the latest one. And null, right? Insertion order of the key is preserved with respect to linked hash map. That is the major difference between hash map and linked hash map. Hash map will not store the elements in the order in which we have inserted with respect to keys, whereas linked hash map will store the values inserted into the linked hash map with respect to keys. So when to go with linked hash map? When the insertion order of the key should be preserved. In that case, we can go with respect to the linked hash map. See, for example, what are the characteristics? It maintains the order by default insertion order. Okay, allows one null key and multiple null values, not thread safe. Faster iteration than hash map because it is implemented to linked list. Okay, and it is part of the java.util package. This is how we can implement the syntax for linked hash map. What is the difference? Insertion order is the difference between hash map and linked hash map. Okay, now what is tree map? Tree map is nothing but it is also an class that implements the map interface, and also it implements navigable map interface. It automatically sorts the keys in natural order. When do we go with respect to tree map? When we want to insert the elements with respect to key value pair, where insertion order of the key is with respect to some ascending order. In that case, we go with respect to tree map. When do we go with respect to hash map? We go with respect to hash map when we want to store the data in the key value pair. When do we go with respect to linked hash map? When we want to store the data in the key value pair where insertion order of the key is a requirement. When to go with respect to tree map? When the insertion order is based on some sorting mechanism for by default ascending. Now, what is the difference between hash map and hash table? Right, next is the hash table. Hash table is nothing but hash table is implements the map interface. It stores key value pair in a hash table similar to hash map, but with some key differences. Before that, one thing that I missed with respect to tree map is we cannot store null keys, because if suppose you are trying to insert null, then it will not be helpful for the tree map to sort the data. Hence, it will return as null pointer exception. Right? With the help of map or with the help of tree map, we cannot store null keys. We can have null values. See, we can have null values. Run as Java application. See, we can have null values, but we cannot have null keys, because if you are trying to insert a null key, then it will be difficult for Java to for the JVM to sort, right? So that's the reason null keys are not allowed in the tree. Okay. Hash table is also similar to that of hash map, but it is thread safe and no null key or null values are allowed, right? See the major difference between tree map, between hash table and hash map. Hash map is not thread safe and it allows one null key and multiple null values. Whereas with respect to hash table, we will not be allowing any null key or null values and it is thread safe. Okay. Let us show you that how to implement a hash table. Again, simple. We just have to replace this with hash table like this. One word, guys. Hash table is a one word like this. Simple. Let us see whether it allows null values. It does not allow null values, right? It will not allow null keys also. Null keys. Okay, I am trying to insert null keys. See, again it will give me a compile time. If I replace something, now see it will insert. But is it maintaining any insertion order? No, insertion order is not present. But it is thread safe. Okay, so that is the major difference between each implementing classes of map.